Today I'm going to talk about the different SQL Server database migration methodologies or approaches. I'll probably be talking about 4 different approaches. The first approach is pretty much the classic approach of backup and restore, which we call as the script method. The reason why we call it as a script method is basically we could automate the end-to-end migrations here using different scripting languages. Either you could do it through SQL Server scripts as well, like just like using T-SQL, or the best way of doing this would be using PowerShell, and that's what most of the DBAs or infrastructure persons people do today, right? So with this methodology, you basically run a PowerShell script to back up all your databases within your server. You also script all your SQL Server logins, your maintenance plans, your link servers, your SQL Server agent jobs, and basically use this use another PowerShell script to restore it from the backups onto your destination server. So with this, you basically have an end-to-end automation put in place to migrate your SQL servers. The second approach is basically the what we call the SQL Server export and import method. With this method, basically you are trying to migrate data for certain objects with this approach, right? The reason it's called export and import is basically you can take a dump of certain objects in your database and you can ideally import it into a target server, right? With this this ideally is not a recommended method when you have large databases. If your database is less than 100 GB of size, you have a downtime that's acceptable, and customer only wants a partial database to be migrated, right? That's where you would ideally go with the SQL Server import export method. The third method is basically the copy database method. In this the SQL Server copy database command is invoked through SQL Management Studio, which also copies your logins, agent jobs, stored procedures. With this method, you ideally need to have a good network connectivity of around 10 GB between your source and target servers. Your database sizes can be less than 500 GB and less than 50 database per server, right? Depending on what the requirement is, you're still needed to migrate your your link servers, broker settings, maintenance plans, custom stored procedures, and any DTCs that you have. One other method that is commonly used is the Microsoft migration assistant. With this strategy, also involves downtime. You need to have a good network connectivity between your servers. Your database sizes are less than 500 GB, and you have less than 50 databases per server, right? Databases also have minimal I/O and small number of transactions per minute for this method to be used. With this method, you basically use your source and destination servers and tell the tool to migrate the data. All right, this is pretty much a very GUI and interactive way of doing things, but depends on what kind of database sizes that you have. The last and the most commonly used today is the always on availability group method. This method ensures that you have the smallest amount of downtime involved, right? With this approach, this approach will ideally allow you to seed the data onto the destination server itself, right? Even though you use the always on configuration, even with the always on configuration, you would still need to script out all the other components of your database, like your logins, your DTCs, link servers, broker configurations, maintenance plans, stored procedure, maintenance plans, etc. Right? But however, this method is the commonly used method across a lot of organizations today, and that gives you the flexibility of making sure that you have less downtime for your most critical business applications. Thank you.